Is it something that is going to upset a prosecutor or potentially a jury at trial? And here's the deal, you don't know. We are the Armed Attorneys. Today we're talking about a deadly self-defense interaction stemming out of a stolen vehicle and an AirTag. Stick around, we're going to talk about the critical self-defense element that we think might be missing out of this case, which might do our self-defender some harm in court. But before we get started, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting the like button. And today's show is brought to you by Acre Gold.
You know how the price of gold has been all over the place lately, but now there's a way to buy gold through a company called Acre. Acre lets you subscribe to gold bars for as little as $30 a month. You pay each month, and once your gold stash reaches the price of their gold bars, they discreetly ship you Acre Gold to your house. And recently, Acre has introduced a new $100 a month subscription for a 5-grain gold bar.
Acre lets you invest in physical gold without coming out of pocket all at once. Acre Gold's also a fantastic hedge against inflation, which we're already seeing with gas, lumber, and food prices. So check them out at getacregold.com.
And today we're talking about this case that arises out of San Antonio, Texas. I think this is a really good case to illustrate some important parts about self-defense cases in general. There are some elements that we like to see in a self-defense case that makes your chances of acquittal much higher. There's something that might be missing here, but we have a gentleman who used an Apple AirTag, had it in his truck. His truck was stolen. He then tracked the truck down. A confrontation ensued, and when everything was all said and done, a man was left dead. Andrew John Herrera, 44, had a gunshot wound to the head. And now, what are the police doing at this point in time?
Well, they're investigating to see if this man's self-defense claim is one that they want to decline to bring charges, or perhaps recommend that go straight to grand jury and get no bail, or if this is a case that they want to pursue for murder against our self-defender. And what they're looking at, I think, which is very interesting, I'm seeing on the news, self-defender says he produced a weapon. That's when I shot. It's not clear that the police found a weapon on scene, which doesn't mean the self-defender is lying. It can mean a lot of things, but it looks like they're talking about that's what's dispositive as to whether or not they're going to charge him, which is a scary proposition from our point of view, right? Just knowing how these incidents play out, right?
Yeah, exactly right. And I think what also is very interesting here is how this is being portrayed in the media. Guy hunts down another man with using an AirTag, kills a man over a car. You kind of see the spin on these things. But like you said, what's up in the air here is, if this other person pointed a gun at him, this isn't just a property crime. This is a person crime, and he may have been defending his own life.
Which you have to hope, right? Because, even in Texas, and Texas has, I think, about the self-defense laws as any state I've studied. But we have, essentially a person fleeing with your property law that doesn't apply here probably, because in Texas, someone's fleeing with your property. They've got to be in immediate flight. And, you have to have been able to have used deadly force for the property at hand while the theft was occurring. And there's some other hoops you have to jump through, not being able to recover said property without deadly force, lesser force, not subjecting you to serious bodily injury or death, things like that. But Texas actually has this shoot a man in the back for your wallet law, which most states do not have. And yet it's got to be sort of this fresh pursuit, which, once the car's gone, you're looking at your AirTag, you're calling 911 to report it stolen, then you're going to track it down. Are we still in fresh pursuit? And does the property law apply at that point? And the answer is probably not.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I think an important fact here is the 911 calls.
Yes, which, generally speaking, and we like to see self-defenders call 911. However, the wrong 911 call can also go pretty badly for you. I think of Joe Horn, right?
Yeah, and so my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, so there's 2 911 calls?
I think so,
Okay.
Yes. So we've got 911 when the car is stolen, and then if 911 is instructing him, which I've read some things either way, if 911 is instructing him, don't follow that vehicle, wait for police to arrive, and he does it anyway, we've got kind of bad self-defense facts there. And again, think of Joe Horn saying, don't go out there, don't confront them, don't, all of the things that led up to, of course, that kerfuffle for him.
Right.
911 calls, generally good if you do them in the right way, can be very bad once you're going at 911 advice.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, and this is kind of the critical part that I think would undermine an overall self-defense claim. Whether the police find a weapon or don't find a weapon, could they charge him with murder? Absolutely. Intentionally killing another person, murder, was it self-defense? Maybe we'll figure that out. But the innocence component, when we say the term innocence, we mean kind of injecting yourself or starting this chain of events that leads to a use of force or deadly force. I think it is a bad facts for the truck driver, the person recovering their truck, that they might be perceived as kind of starting this chain of events.
Yes. And even though, I mean, they're the crime victim and we know that.
Yes.
But yes, you want your hands to be completely clean. And so is that something that's going to, A, get him taken to the grand jury in charge? I mean, Bexar County is no conservative county, right? Is it something that is going to upset a prosecutor or potentially a jury at trial? And here's the deal. You don't know. I mean, I can tell you any trial I've ever had, the weird stuff the jury latches onto, you never know, right?
No.
And it can be in your favor and you can be like, well, that's a weird thing you liked, but sure. Or it can be devastating to your case. And so you don't want to give them an easy thing to latch onto that's going to make them hate your client. And tracking someone down, particularly against police advice rather than waiting for law enforcement, might be one of those things that sets a potentially anti-gun jury even further against you.
Yeah, and I think, and we're taught this in law school, you come up with a theme for your case, and I think attention spans have dropped even shorter than that. It's more at like hashtags, and I think the hashtag of this one is going to be like hunted, and I mean, that's going to be the theme that they're going to try to push into the jury's mind, and if that's the narrative that they latch onto, that's pretty scary if you're that self-defender. And I talk to my clients about this all the time, and when I go out and I speak to people, is spending potentially the rest of your life in prison, is your truck worth that?
Right.
Yeah. The things I'm willing to spend the rest of my life in prison, I can count them on one hand.
Mm-hmm.
A vehicle's not one of them. And then, even we have our kind of pro-gun jurors. I know you've experienced this in trial. You think, oh, I got guys who have their licenses to carry or are super pro 2A. And you have these folks who say, I would have never done that.
Right. Pro-gun jurors can actually be really bad for you, is my experience, because they look at things like this. They watch videos like this.
Right.
They think about potential defensive incidents they could get into, and they say, this is how I'll handle myself if that happens. And then when they get somebody on the stand in front of them who did it differently, they are really judgmental. Y'all are judgmental. I mean, so yeah, it really is tough to get the right jury for a self-defense case because you don't want anti-gun. You don't want super, super pro-gun. You got to have people in the middle who are really unbiased. And then you got to hope that there's not, really bad facts that end up turning them against you. But leave us a comment and let us know. What do you think about this potential self-defense claim? Does it bother you that he went and found the truck and then was forced into this incident? Or do you think, some people just deserve killing, which is, we're in Texas. That's a pretty common refrain. Let us know.
We hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And until next time, we're the Armed Attorneys.